Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Imperial Dreadnought Sovereign's Pride, watching the tactical display with growing dread. Red dots filled the holographic map like a disease spreading across healthy tissue. Each dot represented a void, swarm bioship, and there were thousands of them moving toward Nexus Prime. The bridge hummed with nervous energy. Officers moved between control stations, their faces tight with worry. Everyone knew what those red dots meant. The void swarm had never been stopped. Every world they touched became lifeless rock within days. Admiral, the enemy fleet will reach Nexus Prime in 6 hours, reported Captain Minho from his tactical station. His voice stayed steady, but Hyunwoo could see the fear in his eyes. Minho had been with the fleet for 20 years. He had never seen anything like this. Hyunwoo nodded and turned to the communications officer. Any word from the other fleets? Lieutenant Minho shook his head. The 5th Fleet was destroyed at Kepler Station yesterday. The 7th Fleet is still fighting at the outer colonies, but they're taking heavy losses. We're on our own, sir. The Void Swarm had appeared at the edge of known space 3 months ago. At first, the Empire thought they were just another hostile species. The galaxy was full of aggressive aliens who needed to be taught respect for Imperial authority. But the swarm was different. They didn't want territory or resources. They wanted to consume everything living and turn it into more of themselves. Their bioships were nightmares made real. Each one was a living creature the size of a city, covered in thick armor that could heal itself. When Imperial weapons hit them, the ships learned from the damage and became stronger. Plasma cannons that worked in the first battle became useless in the second. Energy weapons that melted their armor in one fight couldn't even scratch them in the next. Commander So-Jin, what do the archives tell us about fighting adaptive biotechnology? Hyunwoo asked. So-Jin looked up from her research terminal, her face pale. She was the Empire's chief xenoarchaeologist, responsible for finding historical data about alien species. The archives contained information about every civilization the Empire had ever encountered in 50,000 years of expansion. Nothing useful, Admiral, she said quietly. The archives show 17 different species that used bioships, but none were adaptive like this. The swarm is learning faster than we can develop new weapons. Every battle makes them stronger while making us weaker. Hyunwoo felt his stomach tighten. The Galactic Empire controlled 300,000 star systems. Their military had never faced a threat they couldn't eventually overcome through superior technology and numbers. But the Void Swarm was different. They seemed to understand Imperial technology better than the Empire did. Sir, we're receiving a priority transmission from Nexus Prime, Inho called out. It's Governor Jae-sung. Put him through. The holographic display shifted to show a middle-aged man in formal Imperial robes. Governor Jae-sung looked tired and frightened. Behind him, through the windows of his office, the lights of Nexus Prime's capital city twinkled like stars. Admiral, Hyunwoo, thank the cosmos you're here, the governor said. The evacuation is proceeding, but we can only move so many people. Nexus Prime has 40 billion inhabitants. Even with every transport ship in the sector, we can barely evacuate 1% of the population. We'll buy you as much time as we can, Governor, Hyunwoo replied. Keep the evacuation running. Don't stop for anything. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. Everyone understood the mathematics. Nexus Prime would fall, and billions would die. The question was whether the Imperial fleet could delay the swarm long enough to save anyone. Admiral, I'm detecting something unusual, called out Ensign Tae-young from the sensor station. He was young, barely out of the Imperial Academy, but he had excellent eyes for reading sensor data. There are new contacts on the edge of our detection range. Hyunwoo moved to the sensor station. Show me. The tactical display zoomed out to show the larger area around Nexus Prime. The red dots of the Void Swarm continued their steady approach. But now there were blue dots appearing behind them, new ships that hadn't been there moments before. How many ships? Hyunwoo asked. Tae-young studied his readings carefully. Difficult to say, sir. The sensor signatures are strange. I'm reading anywhere from 50 to 500 vessels depending on which sensors I use. It's like they're there and not there at the same time. So-Jin rushed to her terminal, fingers flying over the controls as she searched the archives for any match to the sensor readings. After several minutes, she looked up with confusion written across her face. "Admiral, this is impossible. These energy signatures don't match anything in the archives. Not just no exact match, there's nothing even close. It's like these ships are using principles of physics that we've never encountered." Dr. Yoon Hee, the fleet's chief physicist, joined the conversation from her laboratory deep in the ship. Her voice came through the communication system with scientific excitement mixed with worry. "Admiral, I'm analyzing the energy readings from these new contacts. Their power signatures suggest they're using controlled singularities as energy sources, but the containment methods don't match any known technology. The gravitational effects should tear their ships apart, but somehow they're stable." Captain Minho studied the tactical situation. "If they're hostile, we're trapped between two enemy fleets. If they're friendly, we might have unexpected allies. Either way, we need to know what we're dealing with." Hyunwoo made his decision. "Open a communication channel to the unknown fleet. Use standard Imperial greeting protocols." In-ho worked at his station for several minutes before shaking his head. "Sir, they're not responding to Imperial frequencies. In fact, I can't get any response at all. It's like they can't hear us." "Try older frequencies," So-jin suggested. "If these are some kind of lost colony ships, they might be using outdated communication methods." In-ho expanded his search through the Empire's communication archives. Suddenly, his face lit up with surprise. "Admiral, I'm getting a response, but it's coming through primitive radio waves, the kind of technology that most civilizations abandon as soon as they develop quantum communication." "Put it through," Hyunwoo ordered. Static filled the bridge, as the ancient communication system struggled to process the signal. Then a voice came through, speaking in a language that sounded almost familiar, but not quite recognizable. So-jin worked frantically at her linguistic database. "Admiral, the language has similarities to Old Imperial, but it's using grammatical structures that predate our civilization by thousands of years. It's like listening to our own ancestors." The static cleared slightly, and the voice became more understandable. "Imperial Fleet, this is Captain Dong-hyun of the Earthship Defiant. We are here to assist with the current crisis." Earthship. Hyunwoo felt a chill run down his spine. So-jin was already searching the archives for any reference to Earth or the ship name Defiant. Her search came back empty. "Captain Dong-hyun, this is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Imperial Dreadnought Sovereign's Pride. Your vessel and your world are not in our records. Please explain your presence in Imperial space." A pause filled with static, then the human captain's voice returned with what sounded like amusement. "Admiral, we understand your confusion. We'll explain everything after we deal with the immediate threat. The Void Swarm needs to be stopped before they can complete their mission." Before Hyunwoo could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the bridge. The Void Swarm had detected the human fleet and was changing course to intercept them. The bioships were accelerating beyond their previously observed limits, their organic hulls glowing with increased metabolic activity. "The swarm is moving faster than ever before," Minho reported. "Their bioships are showing power readings 30% higher than anything we've recorded. They see the human fleet as a priority threat." Engineer Tae-young called out from his station. "Admiral, the human ships are moving to intercept the swarm. They're not running away. They're heading straight for them." The tactical display showed the impossible scenario unfolding. 50 to 500 human ships, exact number still unclear, were moving to engage thousands of Void Swarm bioships that had proven unstoppable against the Empire's finest fleets. "This is suicide," Captain Minho muttered. "Those bioships will adapt to whatever weapons the humans use. Even if their technology is advanced, the swarm will learn from it and become immune." Dr. Yoonhee's voice came through the communication system again, filled with scientific fascination. "Admiral, I'm reading energy buildup in the human ships, unlike anything I've ever seen. They're channeling power levels that should vaporize their vessels, but their hulls are somehow containing it." Hyunwoo watched the display as the two fleets approached each other. The Void Swarm bioships spread into their typical attack formation, a living net designed to surround and consume enemy vessels. But the human ships did something unexpected. Instead of maintaining formation, they began to flicker in and out. of normal space. Are they jumping to FTL? Minho asked. No, Tae-young replied, his voice filled with wonder. They're still here, but they're also not here. The sensors show them in multiple locations at once. Sojin abandoned her archive search and moved to the observation deck where she could see the Imperial fleet followed the human ships to what Captain Dong-hyun called a stable pocket, a region of space where the gravitational disturbances couldn't reach them. Admiral Hyun-woo watched through the observation windows as reality itself seemed to calm down around them like entering the eye of a storm. Admiral, our sensors are functioning normally again, reported Ensign Tae-young. Whatever the humans did to bring us here, it's protecting us from the space-time distortions. Dr. Yoon-hee materialized on the bridge through the ship's internal transportation system, carrying several data tablets and looking like she hadn't slept in days. Admiral, I've been analyzing the battle data, and I need to share what I've discovered. The human weapons don't just destroy matter, they remove it from existence entirely. She activated a holographic display showing the battle replay. Watch this bioship, she said, pointing to one of the swarm vessels. When the human weapon hits it, look at what happens to the surrounding space. The display showed the moment of impact in slow motion. As the void swarm bioship disappeared, the space around it rippled like water, then smoothed out as if the ship had never been there at all. The quantum vacuum isn't even disturbed, Dr. Yoon-hee continued. It's as if the ship was edited out of reality rather than destroyed. I've never seen anything like it. Commander So-jin joined them carrying her own research tablets. Doctor, I've been analyzing the linguistic patterns in the human transmissions. They're not just speaking Old Imperial, they're speaking it perfectly, with regional dialects that were only used on specific worlds thousands of years ago. Captain Minho looked up from his tactical station. Are you suggesting they've studied our history in detail? More than studied, So-jin replied. They're speaking these languages like native speakers. But some of these dialects were only used for a few decades on worlds that were abandoned millennia ago. How could they possibly know them so well? Admiral, Hyun-woo listened to his officers discuss the impossibilities they were facing. Each new piece of information made the humans seem more mysterious rather than less. Superior technology was one thing. Many civilizations had developed advanced weapons. But the depth of their knowledge about Imperial history suggested something far more complex. Admiral, In-ho called out, Captain Dong-hyun is requesting another communication. Put him through. The human captain's image appeared on the main display. Behind him, the interior of his ship was visible, and it looked nothing like any spacecraft in Imperial records. The walls seemed to be made of flowing energy, and crew members moved through what appeared to be solid surfaces as if they were walking through water. Admiral Hyun-woo, we hope your crew is recovering from the shock of recent events. We understand that what you've witnessed challenges many assumptions about how the universe works. That's an understatement, Captain, Hyun-woo replied. We'd appreciate some explanations. Captain Dong-hyun nodded. Of course, but first we need to address the immediate crisis. The destruction of the Void Swarm fleet has accelerated the galactic correction process. Your empire has perhaps days before the effects become irreversible. Dr. Yoon-hee stepped forward. Captain, what exactly is this correction process? The image shifted to show Dr. Dayun, the human scientist. Dr. Yoon-hee, excellent question. The galaxy is a complex system with built-in protection mechanisms. When a civilization's technology begins to damage the fundamental structure of space-time, the galaxy initiates repair protocols. Damage? Dr. Yoon-hee asked. Our technology has been tested extensively. Imperial FTL drives are perfectly safe. Dr. Dayun brought up her own holographic display, showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Doctor, every time an Imperial ship uses its FTL drive, it creates what we call quantum scars, tiny tears in the fabric of space-time. Individually, these scars are harmless and heal naturally over time. The map zoomed in to show the space around Imperial worlds. Dr. Dayun continued, but your empire has been using FTL drives for 50,000 years across 300,000 star systems. The cumulative damage has reached a critical threshold. The display showed golden lines connecting Imperial worlds, the standard trade routes and military patrol paths. but overlaid on them were red cracks spreading outward like a spider web of damage. The quantum scars have begun to connect and reinforce each other, Dr. Dayun explained. What started as minor damage has become a network of instability that threatens the galaxy's structural integrity. Captain Minho studied the display with growing alarm. Are you saying our FTL technology is destroying the galaxy? Not intentionally, Major Wushik answered. Your empire developed FTL drives that work by forcing temporary holes in spacetime. It was an elegant solution that allowed rapid expansion across the galaxy. But like any tool, it has long-term consequences that weren't immediately apparent. Admiral, Hyunwoo felt a cold weight settling in his stomach. What does this have to do with the Void Swarm? Captain Dong-hyun's expression became serious. Admiral, the Void Swarm wasn't an alien invasion. They were the galaxy's immune system responding to the damage. Their bioships were designed to consume civilizations that had become a threat to galactic stability. The bridge fell into shocked silence. Commander So-jin was the first to speak. You're saying the galaxy sent the swarm to destroy us? To stop the damage from spreading, Dr. Dayun corrected gently. The galaxy doesn't make moral judgments. It simply responds to threats against its structural integrity. The swarm was meant to remove the source of the quantum scarring before it could become irreversible. Engineer Tae-young looked up from his station with confusion. But if the swarm was supposed to stop us from damaging spacetime, why did you destroy them? Aren't you making the problem worse? Major Wushik answered grimly. Because there's another way to solve the problem, one that doesn't require the extinction of your entire civilization. But it requires cooperation and significant changes to imperial technology and expansion policies. Dr. Yoon-hee's voice came through the communication system with scientific excitement mixed with fear. What kind of changes? Dr. Da-yoon began manipulating her holographic display to show different technological configurations. Doctor, imagine FTL drives that work with space-time instead of against it. Instead of tearing holes, they would ride on natural quantum currents that already exist. The display showed graceful curves replacing the harsh straight lines of Imperial FTL routes. This technology exists and has been proven to work safely over millions of years of use. The transition would be complex, but it would eliminate the quantum scarring problem entirely. Captain Minho studied the new route patterns. These paths would take longer than our current FTL routes. It would slow down Imperial expansion and military response times. Yes, Captain Dong-hyun admitted. But it would also ensure that your civilization survives to continue expanding. The current path leads to galactic collapse within the next few years. Admiral Hyunwoo considered the information carefully. The humans were offering salvation, but at the cost of everything that made the Empire powerful. Slower travel would mean weaker control over distant worlds, reduced military effectiveness, and potential rebellion in the outer territories. Captain, assuming we believe your assessment of the situation, why should we trust you? You appeared from nowhere, demonstrated technology far beyond ours, and now you're asking us to fundamentally change our civilization based on your word alone. Captain Dong-hyun smiled with what seemed like genuine respect. Admiral, your skepticism is both wise and necessary. You shouldn't trust us based on our word alone. Let us show you the evidence. Dr. Da-eun moved to the bridge's main sensor station. May I? Tae-young looked to Admiral Hyunwoo, who nodded permission. Dr. Da-eun placed her hands on the sensor controls, and immediately the displays began showing information that shouldn't have been accessible. Your long-range sensors are more capable than you realize, she explained as she worked. They've been detecting the quantum scars for years, but the data has been filtered out by your navigation computers because it was classified as irrelevant background noise. The main display filled with a new view of local space. The familiar star charts were still there, but now they were overlaid with a network of glowing cracks that spread between every major Imperial world. My God, Dr. Yoon-hee whispered through the speakers. The damage is everywhere. How did we miss this? Commander So-jin moved closer to the display, studying the patterns. Because we weren't looking for it. Our instruments are designed to detect threats to ships and stations, not threats to spacetime itself. Dr. Dayun continued adjusting the sensors, revealing more details about the quantum scarring. The damage has been building for millennia, but it accelerated dramatically in the past century as Imperial expansion reached critical mass. The void swarm appearance was triggered when the scarring reached a threshold that threatened galactic stability. Major Wushik added, "The swarm's bioships were designed to follow FTL routes and consume the civilizations that created them. It's an elegant solution from the galaxy's perspective. Remove the cause, and the effects stop spreading." Captain, Minho shook his head in disbelief. "So the galaxy is alive and trying to kill us?" "Not alive in the way you understand life, Captain Dong-hyun." Captain Dong-hyun's response was immediate and practical. "Admiral, we need access to your Empire's central archive system and permission to begin installing dimensional stabilizers on Imperial ships. Every minute we delay means more worlds fade from existence." Admiral Hyun-woo felt the weight of making decisions that would affect billions of lives. The central archives are located on the capital world of Prima Terra. Access requires authorization from the Emperor himself. "Then we need to reach Prima Terra as quickly as possible," Dr. Dayun said urgently. "But first we must protect this fleet and as many other Imperial ships as we can find." Major Wushik moved to Engineer Tae-young's station. "May I show you how to install temporary dimensional anchors? They won't stop the correction process, but they'll prevent your ships from being edited out of existence while we work on permanent solutions." Tae-young looked to Admiral Hyun-woo, who nodded approval. The young engineer watched in fascination as Major Wushik began modifying the ship systems using tools that seemed to be made of crystallized mathematics. "This device creates a small pocket of stable space-time around your ship," Major Wushik explained as he worked. "It requires constant power and will only last for a few days, but it will keep you anchored to reality while the correction process continues." Dr. Yoon-hee materialized on the bridge again, carrying more data tablets and looking even more exhausted. "Admiral, I've been analyzing the data from the human sensors. The quantum scarring is worse than they initially showed us. The damage extends all the way to the galactic core." She activated a holographic display showing the entire galaxy. The golden lines representing Imperial trade routes were now completely overlaid with red cracks. But worse, the cracks were spreading beyond Imperial space into areas the Empire had never explored. "Dr. Dayun," Dr. Yoon-hee called out. "According to this data, the quantum scarring extends into areas that Imperial ships have never traveled. How is that possible?" Dr. Dayun paused in her work and examined Dr. Yoon-hee's display. "Doctor, that's evidence of previous cycles. The Empire isn't the first civilization to develop damaging FTL technology. The scars you're seeing are from civilizations that came before, stretching back millions of years." Commander So-jin looked up from her research station with alarm. "Previous cycles? Are you saying this has happened before?" "Many times," Captain Dong-hyun confirmed. "The galaxy goes through periods of rapid expansion followed by correction events. Most civilizations don't survive the transition. They either destroy themselves through war over dwindling resources or get erased by galactic correction protocols." "But some do survive?" Admiral Hyun-woo asked. "A few," Dr. Dayun replied. "Those that learn to work with galactic systems instead of exploiting them. Those that choose cooperation over conquest, sustainability over expansion." Engineer Tae-young watched Major Wushik complete the installation of the dimensional anchor. Immediately the ship felt different. The background vibration that every spacefarer learned to ignore disappeared, replaced by an odd sense of stillness, as if the ship was floating in perfectly calm water. "The anchor is active," Major Wushik reported. "Your ship is now protected from the correction process. But Admiral, we need to reach other Imperial ships quickly. Every fleet that doesn't receive protection will fade from existence within hours." Admiral Hyun-woo made quick calculations. The nearest Imperial fleet is Admiral Boram's force at the Centauri defense grid. They have 40 ships. "We can reach them in 20 minutes using our FTL system," Captain Dong-hyun offered. "But we'll need your help to convince them to accept our assistance. Admiral Boram won't trust unknown aliens making fantastic claims." "Boram is a good officer and an old friend," Hyun-woo replied. She'll listen to me. But she'll also want proof of everything you've told us. Dr. Da-Yun smiled. Admiral, we have proof, more than you might be comfortable seeing. She began working at the bridge's main computer terminal, her fingers moving in patterns that seemed to bypass normal security protocols entirely. Commander, Sojin, please call up the archive entry for the founding of the Galactic Empire. Sojin worked at her station, bringing up historical records that every Imperial citizen learned in school. Here's the standard entry. The Empire was founded 50,000 years ago by the alliance of 12 species who developed cooperative FTL technology. Now watch what happens when we remove the information filters, Dr. Da-Yun said, making adjustments to the display. The historical record began to change before their eyes. New information appeared, showing events that weren't in the standard Imperial history. The founding wasn't a peaceful alliance. It was the result of a massive war between dozens of species, most of whom were destroyed in the conflict. This isn't possible, Sojin whispered. The archives can't be wrong about something this fundamental. Dr. Da-Yun continued adjusting the filters, revealing more hidden information. Commander, the archives aren't wrong. They're edited. For thousands of years, Imperial authorities have been removing information that might destabilize the Empire or challenge its expansion policies. New data continued to appear, showing previous encounters with correction events, failed attempts to warn Imperial leadership about quantum scarring, and records of civilizations that tried to intervene before the current crisis. My God, Dr. Yun-hee breathed through the communication system. There were warnings, dozens of warnings spanning millennia, but they were all classified and buried. Captain Minho studied the newly revealed data with growing anger. Are you saying Imperial Command knew about the quantum scarring problem and ignored it? Not exactly, Major Wushik replied. The warnings were too abstract, the time frames too long, and the solutions too expensive for politicians focused on immediate concerns. Each generation of leaders assumed the problem would be solved by their successors. Commander Sojin was digging deeper into the revealed archives, her face pale with shock. Admiral, there are records here of first contact with 17 different civilizations that tried to warn the Empire about the quantum scarring. All of these records were classified at the highest levels. What happened to those civilizations? Admiral Hyun-woo asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. 12 were destroyed in police actions to maintain Imperial security. Sojin read from the records. 3 were quarantined on remote worlds. 2 disappeared entirely. Dr. Da-Yun nodded sadly. Admiral, your empire has been systematically eliminating anyone who tried to warn it about the consequences of rapid expansion. The correction process we're facing now is the galaxy's response to 50,000 years of ignored warnings. Lieutenant, Inho suddenly called out from his communication station. Admiral, I'm receiving an emergency transmission from Admiral Boram's fleet at Centauri. She's reporting massive casualties and requesting immediate assistance. Put her through, Hyun-woo ordered. The display showed Admiral Boram on the bridge of her flagship, smoke visible in the background, and emergency lights flashing. She was a tough veteran who had never shown fear in 30 years of service, but now her face was filled with terror. Hyun-woo, thank the cosmos you're alive. We're under attack by something impossible. Ships that aren't there are destroying my fleet. Weapons that don't exist are tearing through our shields like they're made of paper. Boram, what's your tactical situation? Half my fleet is gone and I don't know how they died. The sensor logs show explosions, but there's no enemy present. It's like space itself is attacking us. Captain Dong-hyun stepped into view of the pickup. Admiral Boram, this is Captain Dong-hyun of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your ships are being affected by galactic correction protocols. We can help, but you need to allow us to install protective equipment immediately. Admiral Boram stared at the human captain with disbelief. Hyun-woo, who is this? And what is he talking about? Boram, it's complicated, but these people saved my fleet from the Void Swarm. They're offering to help save yours as well. You need to trust me on this. Another explosion flashed in the background of Boram's transmission. Hyun-woo, I'm losing ships every few minutes. If these people can help, I'll accept assistance from anyone. We're on our way. Captain Dong Hyun replied. "Prepare your ships to receive our technical teams." The transmission ended, and the human fleet immediately began moving toward the Centauri defense grid. Admiral Hyun-woo watched in amazement as the human ships accelerated to speeds that should have been impossible, crossing interstellar distances in minutes instead of hours. "How do your ships move so fast without using FTL drives?" he asked. Dr. Dayun was monitoring the approach on her instruments. "Admiral, we don't travel through space, we move space around us. It's a fundamental difference in approach that eliminates the quantum scarring problem entirely." Engineer Tae Young studied the sensor readings from the human ships. "Doctor, the energy requirements for moving space should be enormous. How do you power such technology?" "By borrowing energy from parallel dimensions and returning it when we're finished," Dr. Dayun explained. "It's like taking out a loan from the universe itself. As long as you pay it back, the universe doesn't mind letting you use it temporarily." The fleet reached Admiral Boram's position to find a desperate battle in progress. Imperial ships were disappearing at random The transport beam deposited Admiral Hyun-woo, Commander So-jin, and Engineer Tae Young directly into the Central Archive facility on Prima Terra. The room was massive, filled with quantum processors that hummed with dangerous energy. "Archive." Keeper Young-ho rushed to meet them, his face pale with stress. "Admiral, thank the cosmos you're here. The system has been running calculations non-stop for 6 hours. The quantum processors are overheating and we can't shut them down. Every time we try, they restart themselves and run even faster." Captain Dong Hyun and his team materialized beside the Imperial officers. Dr. Daun immediately moved to the central control console, her hands dancing over controls that shouldn't have responded to alien touch. "Archive Keeper, your quantum computers have achieved something remarkable and terrifying," she said as she worked. "They've become quantum entangled with the galaxy's fundamental information structure. They're not just processing Imperial data anymore, they're processing reality itself." Young-ho stared at her in disbelief. "That's impossible. These are isolated systems with no external connections." Dr. Dayun paused in her work to show him the readings. "Keeper, quantum entanglement doesn't require physical connections. Your computers have been running calculations about galactic history for so many years that they've resonated into harmony with the galaxy's own memory systems." Major Wushik was examining the quantum processors with instruments that looked like they were made of crystallized thought. "The archive system has essentially become part of the galaxy's brain. When it detected the quantum scarring damage, it began running correction calculations automatically." Engineer Tae Young watched the human instruments with fascination. "Major, those tools you're using, what are they made of?" "Solidified mathematics," Major Wushik replied casually. "When you understand that reality is information, you can craft tools from pure mathematical concepts. They're more precise than matter-based instruments." Commander So-jin was accessing the archive terminals following Dr. Dayun's modifications to reveal more hidden data. What she found made her stop breathing. "Admiral," she called out in a shaking voice, "you need to see this. The archives contain records of first contact with humans dating back 15,000 years. Admiral Hyun-woo moved to her station. The display showed detailed files about human civilization, their technology, their offers of assistance, and Imperial responses to their presence. "This is impossible," Young-ho insisted. "I've maintained these archives for 20 years. I would know if there were records about humans." Dr. Dayun looked up from the central console with sad understanding. "Keeper, the records were there, but they were buried under security classifications so deep that only a galactic emergency could reveal them. Your own access codes weren't sufficient to see them. The revealed records told a story that shattered everything the Imperial officers thought they knew about their civilization. Humans had made contact with the Empire dozens of times over 15,000 years, each time offering the same warnings about quantum scarring and the same technological solutions. Look at these dates, So-jin said, pointing to timestamps in the records. First contact attempts every 500 to 800 years, always with the same message about sustainable FTL technology. Young-ho was reading the records over her shoulder, his face growing pale. And look at the Imperial responses. Every contact was classified as a security threat. Every human offer of assistance was rejected as potential subversion. Admiral Hyunwoo studied the pattern of contacts and rejections. They kept trying to help us, and we kept refusing. Why didn't they force us to listen? Captain Dong-hyun answered, from his position near the quantum processors. Admiral, forced solutions don't create stable civilizations. Each species has to choose its own path to sustainability. We could provide information and options, but the Empire had to decide for itself when it was ready to change. But people died because of our refusal, Commander Sojin said, reading through records of worlds that had been lost to previous correction events. Billions of Imperial citizens were erased from existence while we ignored warnings that could have saved them. Dr. Da-Yun paused in her work on the quantum processors. Commander, those deaths weren't wasted if they eventually led to the Empire choosing a different path. In our timeline, the crisis was the catalyst that transformed Imperial civilization from an exploitative empire into a cooperative galactic community. Major Wushik was deep inside the quantum processing core, using his crystallized mathematics tools to modify the entanglement patterns. The good news is that this archive system is far more advanced than the one in our timeline. The calculations it's been running contain solutions we never discovered. What kind of solutions? Engineer Tae-young asked. Retroactive quantum healing, Dr. Da-Yun replied, her voice filled with excitement. This archive system has figured out how to repair quantum scars without erasing the civilizations that caused them. It's been developing the solution while simultaneously amplifying the problem. Young-ho looked at the human scientist with confusion. Are you saying the archives are trying to save us and destroy us at the same time? Exactly, Captain Dong-hyun confirmed. The quantum entanglement works both ways. The galaxy's correction protocols influenced the archives to develop solutions, but the archive's processing power amplified the correction process. It's a feedback loop that's been building for thousands of years. The central console began flashing, with warning lights as Dr. Da-Yun worked deeper into the system. Admiral, I'm finding calculation threads that extend far beyond this crisis. The archive system has been modeling galactic evolution across millions of years. She brought up a display that showed the galaxy's history in fast forward. Civilizations rose and fell in waves, each one following similar patterns of rapid expansion followed by correction events. This is incredible. Dr. Yoon-hee's voice came through the communication link from orbit. The archives have been unconsciously studying the cycle of galactic evolution. They contain solutions not just for our current crisis but for preventing future ones. Commander Sojin was exploring other sections of the revealed data. Admiral, there are records here of dozens of extinct civilizations. All of them face the same choice we're facing now: adapt or be erased. How many chose adaptation? Admiral Hyunwoo asked. According to this data, Young-ho read from his terminal, only 7 civilizations in galactic history have successfully transitioned to sustainable expansion. All the others either destroyed themselves through war or were eliminated by correction events. Major Wushik emerged from the quantum processing core, his tools glowing with residual energy. The entanglement patterns have been modified. The archive system is no longer amplifying the correction process, but we haven't stopped it completely. What's needed to stop it entirely? Admiral Hyunwoo asked. Dr. Da-Yun was running calculations on the modified system. Admiral, we need to implement dimensional stabilizers across the entire empire simultaneously. Every major world, every fleet, every space station. The network effect will create a galactic-scale dimensional anchor that can halt the correction process. How many ships and worlds are we talking about? Engineer Tae-young asked. 300,000 worlds, 50,000 space stations, and approximately 2 million active spacecraft, Young-ho replied, reading from the Imperial Logistics database. Captain Dong-hyun studied the numbers with concern. That's a massive undertaking, but it's possible. However, we'll need the cooperation of every Imperial fleet commander and planetary governor. Any worlds or ships that refuse the stabilizers will be lost to the correction process. Admiral Hyunwoo realized the political complexity they were facing. Captain, convincing the entire Imperial hierarchy to accept alien technology based on claims about future timelines and quantum scarring won't be easy. Many commanders will see this as an invasion attempt. We understand, Dr. Dayun replied. That's why we need to demonstrate the technology's effectiveness on a large scale. If we can successfully protect the Prima Terra system, other Imperial leaders will see the results and be more willing to cooperate. Young Ho was monitoring the archive system's status. Dr. Dayun, your modifications are working. The quantum processors are running more efficiently, and the correction amplification has stopped. But I'm seeing new calculation threads appearing. What kind of calculations? She asked, moving to examine his readings. Predictive models about Imperial decision-making patterns. The system is analyzing the probability of different Imperial responses to our situation. Dr. Dayun studied the predictive models with growing interest. Keeper, your archive system has evolved beyond its original design. It's become a galactic intelligence capable of modeling civilization-level behavior patterns. Major Wu Shik was installing additional equipment throughout the archive facility. That explains why the entanglement was so strong. The system wasn't just processing data, it was trying to understand and predict galactic evolution. Commander Sojin made a new discovery in the revealed records. Admiral, I'm finding files about something called the Galactic Council. It's described as a cooperative organization of species that survived their own correction events. The Council still exists, Captain Donghyun confirmed. In our TI, the galactic quantum broadcast activated with a pulse of energy that Admiral Hyunwoo felt in his bones. Every Imperial ship, every space station, every major world across 300,000 star systems received the same message simultaneously. Accept the dimensional stabilizers or fade from existence within hours. Dr. Dayun monitored the responses flowing back through the archive system. Admiral, we're getting mixed reactions. About 60% of Imperial commanders are accepting the installations. 30% are demanding more information. 10% are treating this as an invasion and preparing to fight. The 10% that are resisting, Major Wushik added grimly, represent some of the Empire's most powerful fleets. If they refuse protection and get erased by the correction process, it will destabilize the entire Imperial government. Admiral Hyun-woo studied the response patterns on the galactic display. The resisting fleets were concentrated around the core worlds, commanded by officers who had built their careers on Imperial military strength. Grand Admiral Subin, he called through the communication link. We need your help convincing the resistant commanders. They'll listen to you. Subin's image appeared on the display, her face showing the strain of watching her empire dissolve around her. Admiral, I'm trying, but Admiral Kyung-sik and his supporters are convinced this is an elaborate alien invasion scheme. They're demanding that I arrest you and destroy the human ships. Ma'am, perhaps if they could see the archive records showing 15,000 years of human contact attempts. They claim the records are fabricated. Subin interrupted. Kyung-sik believes the aliens have somehow infiltrated the archive system and created false historical data to support their invasion. Captain Dong-hyun moved to the communication pickup. Grand Admiral, we understand Admiral Kyung-sik's position. May we suggest a demonstration that will prove our intentions? What kind of demonstration? Subin asked suspiciously. Dr. Da-yun was already working at the quantum processing core. Grand Admiral, we can temporarily reverse the correction process in a small area of space. This will allow erased Imperial worlds to return to existence, proving that our technology can restore what has been lost. You can bring back destroyed worlds? Young Ho asked in amazement. Not destroyed, Dr. Dayun corrected. Edited out of existence. There's a difference. Destroyed matter is gone forever, but edited information can be restored if you have the right tools and enough power. Major Wushik was monitoring the galactic energy flows through his crystallized mathematics instruments. We can restore approximately 12 star systems for a period of 1 hour. It will require massive energy expenditure, but it should be sufficient to prove our capabilities. Do it, Admiral Hyunwoo ordered. Dr. Da-yun began the restoration. Process channeling power from the human fleet's dimensional generators through the modified archive system. The quantum processors throughout the facility blazed with light as they processed calculations that rewrote small sections of galactic history. On the galactic display, 12 star systems that had disappeared over the past day suddenly reappeared. Worlds that had been edited out of existence materialized again, complete with their populations, cities, and orbital installations. Impossible, Young-Ho whispered, watching the readings. You've restored entire civilizations that had been completely erased. Engineer Tae-Young was monitoring the energy flows with scientific fascination. Doctor, the power requirements for this restoration should have drained every reactor in the galaxy. How are you generating so much energy? We're not generating it, Dr. Dione explained. We're redirecting the correction process's own energy back on itself. The galaxy is providing the power to undo what it was trying to accomplish. Lieutenant Inho's voice came through the communication link with excitement. Admiral, I'm receiving transmissions from the restored worlds. They're confused about having lost several hours of time, but they're alive and functional. Grand Admiral Subin was staring at her tactical displays in disbelief. The Kepler system is back. I watched it disappear 6 hours ago, and now it's there as if it never left. Grand Admiral, Captain Dong-hyun said, this is what we can accomplish, with Imperial cooperation. But the restoration is temporary. Without permanent dimensional stabilizers, these worlds will fade again within the hour. Admiral Kyung-sik's face suddenly appeared on the communication display, his expression filled with rage. Subin, this is obviously some kind of advanced holographic deception. These aliens are using technology to make us think they've destroyed worlds. Kyung-sik, Admiral Hyun-woo interrupted. Contact the Kepler system directly. Speak to Governor Jae-min personally. Verify that the restoration is real. I refuse to be manipulated by alien psychological warfare, Kyung-sik replied. Subin, I'm ordering you to open fire on the alien fleet immediately. Every moment we delay gives them more time to strengthen their invasion. Captain Dong-hyun sighed sadly. Admiral Kyung-sik, we understand your position, but we cannot allow you to interfere with the stabilization process. Too many lives are at stake. Are you threatening an Imperial Admiral? Kyung-sik demanded. No, Major Woo-shik replied calmly. We're stating a fact. If you attempt to disrupt the dimensional stabilization network, you will cause the immediate erasure of billions of Imperial citizens. We cannot permit that to happen. The tension on the communication link was thick enough to cut. Admiral Hyun-woo realized that they were moments away from a conflict that would doom both the Empire and any chance of galactic survival. Kyung-sik, he said carefully. What would it take to convince you that these beings are trying to help us? Admiral Kyung-sik's face was hard with military determination. Nothing. Unknown aliens with superior technology appearing during our greatest crisis can only be enemies. I don't care what fabricated records they show or what illusions they create. I will not allow the Empire to be conquered through deception. Dr. Daeun was monitoring the restoration process with growing urgency. Admiral, the temporary restoration is beginning to fail. We're losing the restored worlds again. On the galactic display, the 12 star systems that had briefly returned to existence began flickering like dying candles. One by one, they faded back into non-existence as the correction process reasserted itself. Grand Admiral Subin, Captain Dong-hyun said desperately, you have minutes to decide. We can make the restoration permanent and protect the entire Empire, but only if we can complete the stabilization network without interference. Subin was studying her tactical displays, watching Imperial worlds disappear in real time. The weight of commanding the Empire's military forces had never felt heavier. Kyung-sik, she said finally, I'm ordering you to stand down and allow the aliens to complete their work. I refuse, Kyung-sik replied immediately. Subin, you're being manipulated by sophisticated psychological warfare. These aliens are using our fear of extinction to make us accept their conquest. Then you're relieved of command, Subin stated coldly. Security, place Admiral Kyung-sik under arrest. Kyung-sik's image flickered as the transmission was cut from his end. Within moments, New alarms began blaring throughout the archive facility. Admiral, Lieutenant Inho reported urgently. Admiral Kyung-sik's fleet is breaking formation and approaching our position with weapons charged. Admiral Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. Kyung-sik commanded the 3rd Imperial Battle Group, 200 of the Empire's most advanced warships. If he was determined to stop the stabilization process, the resulting battle could trigger a correction cascade that would erase the entire Prima Terra system. Captain Dong-hyun, can your ships disable Kyung-sik's fleet without destroying them? Captain Dong-hyun exchanged glances with his team. Admiral, we can protect ourselves, but any defensive action we take will be seen as an attack by other Imperial commanders. It could turn the entire Empire against us. Young-ho was monitoring the archive system's analysis of the developing situation. Admiral, the quantum computers are modeling the probability outcomes. If Admiral Kyung-sik attacks, there's an 85% chance that other Imperial commanders will side with him against the aliens. Even if it means the extinction of Imperial civilization? Commander So-jin asked. Fear makes people choose. Familiar destruction over unknown salvation. Dr. Dayun replied sadly. We've seen this pattern in other timelines. Civilizations often prefer to die as themselves rather than survive by changing. Major Wu-shik was preparing defensive systems that existed in dimensions Admiral Hyun-woo couldn't perceive. Admiral, we're not going to let your empire choose extinction, but we may need to demonstrate more forcefully why cooperation is necessary. What kind of demonstration? Admiral Hyun-woo asked, though he was afraid of the answer. We're going to show Admiral Kyung-sik what happens to civilizations that refuse to adapt, Captain Dong-hyun replied. Dr. Da-un, can you access archive records about the Genti Empire? Dr. Da-un worked at the quantum processors, calling up historical data about a civilization that had existed in the same galactic region millions of years earlier. Here's the complete record. The Genti faced the same correction crisis that the Empire faces now. The display showed the rise and fall of an entire galactic civilization. The Genti had been powerful, technologically advanced, and a